From jaw-dropping acts of violence to inventive ways of dispatching your enemies, these awesome movie scenes weren't given the honor of being part of the party when it came time for the films in question to be aired on British soil. I'm Gareth from WhatCulture.com, and here are 10 movies where the UK version deleted the best scenes. Number 10. Dumb and Dumber. The little old lady is nowhere to be seen. It's safe to say that, despite still being an absolute riot for the most part, some sequences from 1994's Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels starring Dumb and Dumber have aged like a carton of semi-skimmed milk. The sight of Daniels' Harry Dunn giving a masseuse his own personal brand of massage in an unsettlingly tight ensemble, and Carey's Lloyd Christmas fantasizing about lifting up Mary's dress both induced their fair share of cringes in 2021. However, they both found their way into the cut that wiggled onto UK cinema screens back in the mid-90s. One scene that wasn't seen as suitable for British viewers, though, came in the form of an exchange between Lloyd and a little old lady near a newspaper stand. Oddly, the hilarious moment that involved Carey returning to the stand after quipping that the pensioner could still serve a purpose, only to find that his groceries and wallet had been nicked by her, was left out. Bizarrely, ITV was allowed to air the scene when it debuted on TV in 1996, but it once again went walkabout when DVD and VHS releases arrived on the scene. Number 9. Die Hard with a Vengeance. Swear dubbing and toned down violence. When folks turn up to see Bruce Willis batter goons and foil terrorist plots in a Die Hard film, they expect two things: a ton of gritty violence and explicative quips from the mighty John McClane. Yet when the third entry into the series, starring Willis alongside Samuel L. Jackson and Jeremy Irons, finally arrived in 1995, a number of those vital elements were cut, altered, or edited out entirely for Die Hard UK fans of the franchise. Most notably, during the shootout that goes down inside of an elevator, blood being splattered onto McClane's face after a gnarly kill, and the initial sneaky gunshot from the grizzled hero are missing, largely diluting one of the most badass parts of a brutal close-quarters sequence that puts Captain America's Hydra fisticuffs to shame. On top of this butchering of said elevator sequence in order to obtain a 15 rating from the BBFC, a ton of swears were also dubbed, with the likes of F you Joe swapped out for Go Away Joe. Thankfully, 2008 saw the uncut article released on Blu-ray for UK viewers, giving us the chance to see the NYPD cop in all his unfiltered glory once again. Number 8. Taken, a more intense torture scene. In a feature jam-packed with quotable and instantly iconic moments, parts of one of the most savage and unforgettable ones didn't actually grace theaters in the UK initially. That being the moment where Brian decides to torture Marco Hoxha for information on the whereabouts of his daughter. Those who saw this scene play out for the first time in a British cinema, however, weren't treated to the sights of Mills taking things up a notch in the lead-up to electrocuting the mob boss. So instead of seeing Neeson's character punch Hoxha in the face and pierce 2 spikes into his legs before zapping him, they witnessed Brian simply attach clamps to the chair that would eventually lead to the shocks. In general, the scene is much more intense in the version used internationally, really highlighting the extreme lengths Mills will go to ensure his daughter's safety. Number 7. Psycho, the shower scene. Though when viewed through a 2021 lens, the instantly recognizable shower murder scene that goes down in Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho may seem a little tame. Back in 1960, it was about as shocking as it gets for that period's UK movie censors. In fact, the film was ultimately given an X rating by British censors largely due to this act, leading to the scene being chopped and changed to reduce the sound of stabbing and nudity in the constantly cutting moment which saw Marion stabbed to death in the shower. In the end, likely after realizing the scene wasn't as extreme as they first thought, DVD and VHS releases brought back the original cut of the scene, with Psycho ultimately being reclassified to its current rating of a 15 certificate as time went by, and audiences got more accustomed to intense violence on the big screen. Number 6. The Rock, the Knife Throw. It's hard to single out one specific greatest hit when talking about Sean Connery's wisecracking performance as SAS Captain John Patrick Mason in 1996's The Rock. Between confessing that winners go home and flub the prom queen, and labeling Ed Harris's General Hummel a effing idiot, you'll find it hard to unearth another Connery performance as unfiltered and all-round badass as this 90s slice of cheese. Yet those watching on from Connery's homeland of Britain, his Scottish it counts, were unfortunately deprived of one of his most entertaining moments when the film originally landed on UK soil theatrically and on home release. An exchange that saw Mason launch a knife straight into a mercenary's throat, quickly following up with a quip stating that you must never hesitate, was dropped for British audiences. Thankfully, Channel 5 didn't agree and decided to clean up the dialogue slightly, but restore much of the left-out violence, including said knife one-liner. Number 5. B-Movie, an aerosol flamethrower. As it turns out, even a children's animated feature has the potential to be a little too edgy for the BBFC's liking. And in the case of the 2007 DreamWorks animation B-Movie, one specific scene involving our leading bug, played by Jerry Seinfeld, being chased around a bathroom by a raging human had to be cut by a whole 20 seconds due to what was classed as a potentially dangerous and easily imitated technique involving materials that are readily available in the average household. For those Brits who weren't able to witness the scene in all its unfiltered glory upon its original theatrical UK release, Barry B. Benson very nearly finds himself incinerated by a makeshift flamethrower, created by combining an aerosol and a lighter. Don't act like you've never done it. The UK version of the scene saw Barry simply being chased around by a showerhead instead. Number 4. Batman Returns, aerosol microwave antics. Speaking of aerosol improvisation being seen as a big old no-no in the land of British big screen entertainment, instead of chasing around a bee in a bathroom with an air freshener and a lighter though, Batman Returns decided to take things up a few notches with a couple of spray paint cans and a microwave. The scene, which involved Michelle Pfeiffer's Selena Kyle pulling off the act in a department store that would ultimately lead to a very large explosion, was once again given the heave-ho upon being released in UK cinemas for the exact same reason B-Movie had its makeshift flamethrower chopped out. The BBFC were worried folks would go home and start targeting their enemies with their own personal DIY explosive devices. Like many of the preceding entries on this list, this cut was finally waved away as time went by, and in 2009 the film's Blu-ray release saw the Tim Burton sequel bumped up to a 15 certificate and finally released uncut to UK fans. Number 3. The Hunger Games, bloody violence. One of the key selling points of the cinematic adaptation of The Hunger Games was the fact that the book didn't hold back when revealing the genuine threat that was waiting for all who entered the titular fight to the death. Yet, feeling that the version of the first entry into the franchise that was submitted to them was a little too graphic for a 12A feature, the BBFC requested that a ton of the brutal violence be toned down. So things like blood splattering out of the torsos of dispatched tributes, red body fluid being left behind on knives and bricks, and even the sight of Katniss Everdeen being threatened at knife point were all left out of the UK cut. Again, the later release Blu-ray included the hard-hitting version the rest of the planet witnessed, bringing the real severity and viciousness of Suzanne Collins' world to life in the way it was originally supposed to. Number 2. Seven, curses and gluttony imagery. While the version of David Fincher's chilling Seven that initially stunned audiences in cinemas around the world was pretty much left untampered in UK theatres, the same cannot be said for what happened to the film when it finally made its way onto British television. For those unfortunate BBC viewers, absolutely every F-bomb and a great many of the film's signature grisly images were all erased for its small screen UK bow. Perhaps one of the most disturbing and deeply unforgettable moments in the flick suffered the most, with the gluttony murder victim scene being heavily edited to remove any shots of the dead body in full view. The interrogation which follows the lust murder was also altered, omitting the image of the device used to perform the terrible act altogether. For those unaware of what they were missing out on in the first place, the film was still likely a deeply unsettling experience. But with these additional visuals, Fincher's masterpiece definitely delivers more of a disturbing punch. Number 1. The Goonies, swears and a hanging close-up. The Goonies may be one of the finest coming-of-age movies ever committed to the big screen, but depending on when and where you watched the film in Britain, you likely had a different experience to your peers. First of all, in order to obtain the PG rating necessary to lure in as many families into cinemas as possible, the close-up of Jake Fratelli's hanged face and subsequent untying of the noose as he made his prison escape was erased. A number of swears were also dropped, along with subtitled uses of the likes of marijuana and cocaine and speed, being replaced with words that that were less likely to offend audiences. This was merely the beginning of the Goonies gutting though. Various ITV versions of the flick saw the film's ending finish on a freeze frame with the words "The End" popping up on screen, Andy screaming at the skeleton of Chester Copperpot being cut, and Sloth growling at Chunk when they first meet was also left out, due to fears over children being frightened by the exchange. 2004 finally saw all of these cuts erased by the BBFC, however, with the legendary film certificate being brought up to a 12 when all was said and done. And that's our list. Know of any other movies where the UK version deleted the best scenes? Let us know all about them in the comment section right down below, and do not forget to like, share, and click on that subscribe button. I've been Gareth from WhatCulture.com. Thank you as always for clicking on this video today, and I'm sure I'll see you very, very soon. Bye bye!